Hello, today with this presentation we're going to talk about Retamo espinoso, which is an invasive species in Colombia, and this presentation is brought by María Fernanda Sierra, María Alejandra Espinosa, Alejandro Castillo, Matías Lecarda, and Juanita Zambrano, so I hope you enjoy it.
The main characteristics of this plant is a perennial thorny scrub. It reaches 1 to 3 meters in height, but here in Colombia it reaches 7 meters. Its leaves are small and prickly, and are usually modified into thorns. This plant has good yellow flowers and grouped in clusters. They bloom mainly in spring and summer, but in mild climates they can bloom all year around, which is the case in Colombia. The fruit of this seed is a thorny pod that contains several seeds. Its natural habitat is a native range, growing in headlands, scrublands, and areas of acidic or sandy soil. It is commonly found in regions with an oceanic or Mediterranean climate. The adaptation of this plant has a specific that allow it to thrive in adverse environments. Its leaves are modified into spines, which reduces water loss and protects against herbivores. The hard coating of their seeds allows them to survive in extreme conditions and germinate after long periods of time. This plant is attractive to pollinators due to its vibrant nectar and color. Thorny broom reproduces both sexually through seeds and vegetatively. Seeds are dispersed by wind, animals, and water. The plant can form dense thickets that facilitate self-seeding and rapid colonization, and at the same time it grows rapidly and can form dense thickets that after the original habitat, the plant can resprout vigorously after being cut or burnt, giving it an advantage in its generation ability.
First, the favorite condition. The Retamo espinoso adapts well to the climatic condition of the Andina Para, which include cold temperatures and humid soil. The plant can thrive in acid soil and in conditions where the other native species might thrive, and these soil characteristics are found in the moors, which are often acid and poor in nutrients. Ulex urapaeus fixed in nutrient in the soil, which change soil composition and may benefit its own growth at the expense of native plants. Retamo espinoso seed production occurs in large quantities that are easily disappeared by wind, water, and animals. These seeds have a hard covering that allows them to remain viable in soil and many years, facilitating their establishment and expansion. It also grows rapidly and forms disease rickets, which allows it to invade larger areas quickly and displace native vegetation. The great native competition, one of those competition is found resource, since this plant contemplates aggressivity for resources such as water, light, and nutrients. Its dense growth can change shade and suffocate native plants, which are adapted to the specific condition of the moors.
Experts explain that during the winter seasons, seeds travel long distances, hence why they spread and reach other areas. This would not be more of a problem in drier environments more than those of the Cundiboyacense region, made up of Andean forest, high Andean paramo, and mountain wetlands, where this situation causes damage to native species and other, such as bamboo and ferns. Furthermore, in places where it has established itself as invasive, Retamo espinoso has altered the structure of the ecosystem by forming dense monocultures that displace native plant species. This can reduce biodiversity and change local ecological dynamics. Changes in vegetation can also affect animal species that depend on native plants for food or habitat.
One of the most recognized cases here in Colombia is the colloquial impact on the Frelejon and the Paramo ecosystem. First, we have resources competition. The Thorny broom forms dense thickets that compete with the Frelejon, Espelita SPP, for vital resources such as water, light, and nutrients. In these ecosystems, where conditions are already extreme and resources are limited, this competition can be especially damaging. Another in the ground of this plant can shade and reduce the amount of light available to Frelejon and other native plants. This can inhibit the growth and photosynthesis of native species. The great capacity of thorny broom to fix nitrogen in the soil alters the chemical composition of the soil. When nitrogen fixation may benefit some plants in the context of Retamo espinoso, it can destabilize the nutrient balance that favor native species adapted to specific conditions. Soil disturbance by Ulus europaeus can also affect the land's ability to retain water and control erosion. This is critical in the moors where the Frelejon plays an essential role in regulating water and preventing erosion. The reduction of biodiversity, the invasion of the Retamo espinoso, can lead to the placement of the native vegetation of the Paramo, including the Frelejon. This reduces plant diversity, which in turn affects the fauna that depends on these plants for their food and habitat. The dominance of this plant can transform the natural habitat into impenetrable monocultures, reducing the diversity of plant species and altering the ecological relationships between species. Also, the impact of hydrology. Frelejones are fundamental for the regulation of the hydrological cycle in the moors, such as the help capture and store water. The presence of Retamo espinoso can alter this process by modifying the soil structure and affecting the water retention capacity of the ecosystem. The disruption of the food chain as the decline of native plants can be cascading effects in the food chain, affecting herbivores and injure the predators that depend on them. There are also the consequences of having this plant in the long term wastelands, which are the alteration of ecosystem, mainly that of the Paramo. The invasion of thorny broom can lead to lasting changes in the structure and function of the Paramo ecosystem, making it difficult to recover the original condition, and the presence of Ilex europaeus can complicate conservation efforts by modify critical habits and reduce biodiversity. The management and restoration of this ecosystem require a comprehensive approach to control invasion and promote the recovery of native species.
This plant began to affect farmers and inhabitants. Mainly, this situation happened in Bogota. Unfortunately, the inhabitants and farmers affected by this weed, as a control measure, just cutting or prodding and burning it, without considering the environmental damage it causes. They do to the ecosystem and the benefit it brings, and to its dispersion. From the National Institute of Agricultural Research, we know that after this situation, the mayor's office began to do the same. They delimited the area in which this plant was located, then cut branches and flowers, then removed the root and finally burned it. But this solution had different problems. First, environmental damage, and second, the characterization of areas affected by the presence of thorny broom have been carried out through field visits and tours of properties and roads in the 30s. These techniques require more time, economic cost, and areas may remain unidentified. Due to the above, it is necessary to use techniques with greater coverage, such as spatial remote sensing, to identify areas with the presence of thorny broom and, thus, contribute to its control and possible eradication. Therefore, using spatial remote sensing techniques can contribute to mapping and delimiting areas where the colonization of the invasive plant probably exists. The application of this spatial remote sensing technique was being generated or implemented in Colombia and Uruguay using satellite images, and another solution generated by Castro and Peñalosa was that they used unmanned aerial vehicles in the eastern hills of Bogota, but with the limitation of less spatial coverage, and in addition, there are computer developments with relevant information about the identification and quantification of areas with the presence of thorny broom. The problem with this solution was that it was only generated in Bogota and rural areas of this territorial entity. There is no information for neighboring municipalities. Manifold discussions have been taken in regards to the solutions to solve the rapid expansion of the Retamo espinoso. So far, we acknowledge the fact that ripping off the plants won't scope what we are aiming to achieve. That being the case, one has to think outside the box in order to reach solutions. What we think that works the best so far is the usage of the fibers or Retamo espinoso in order to manufacture different ornaments, as opposed to the aggressive resource of ripping everything off. The idea is to keep our environment in balance and abundance. Hence, here realize the importance of taking advantage of materials that this plant is out to give us. In other words, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Thanks for your attention.